Welcome back to the channel, guys. Drew here, and it is official. I've completed my second vehicle. We've made over $30,000 in profit. I promised you a breakdown, dollar for dollar. We're going to use the whiteboard and break down our costs and everything in this vehicle. I hope you're ready. There's a lot of lessons we can learn from it. Let's jump in. Alright guys, we're going to jump right in. Let's start out with the purchase price. So I was fortunate enough to be kind of ahead of the game on the C8s. I put my reservation shortly after the car was debuted. I waited 13 months to get the car. MSRP was $63,675. Of course, you got to add your taxes and tags, $46.44 for taxes and tags. And then some people ask about buying products in the finance office. Most of the products, hopefully you don't need, like gap insurance. Hopefully you have enough buffer there. You're buying the car priced right. You're putting a little bit of money down to where you wouldn't need gap insurance. Extra warranty coverages, that may not be the best place to buy them. Typically they're going to be fairly high priced, so to speak, unless you have a connection in there and get it closer to cost. But there is one product where I like to buy on most of my TURO vehicles, and that is if they have any type of a product that offers tire, rim, and key fob, or sometimes it'll be tire, rim, and seat protection or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that you will use in the TURO business, and you'll probably have multiple claims. So a couple things you want to remember if they have a product like that. You want to find out, is there any limit to how many claims, and also, can the product be cancelable? And that's very important. I'll show you there in a little bit. So I actually purchased the tire, rim, and key protection for the Corvette. Sports cars are easy ones to get scraped up as far as the rims and so forth. I want you to make a note here that I extended that coverage all the way out to 84 months. And you would ask, well, I don't keep any of my cars even close to that. Usually I'm keeping my cars somewhere between 24 months and 36 months. That's kind of my sweet spot for keeping the vehicles. I may be one of those people who sell the cars a little too early, but usually I'm so far ahead that that's a safer place for me to sell the vehicles. But I always extend this to 84 months because when I cancel the product, whether it's 18 months or 2 years or 3 years, I'm going to get a prorated amount of that back. And so the majority of this money that I'm spending, I'll get back at the end. So total cost, out the door, so to speak here, I'll put an OTD out the door, $69,393. Of course, you can see I built the C8. The C8 started out at 2020, started out at $59,000, $59,995. So you can see I'm not spending a ton of money on extra options because the only thing I want to spend my money on is things that are going to make the car aesthetically look good. The color, I paid up for the color. I paid up for, some yellow highlights to make the car pop a little bit. And I paid up for the spoiler, which ended up getting pulled off because of a back order. So I had to add the high wing spoiler after the fact, several months after I was already renting the car. And I actually ended up getting the spoiler for cheaper because I was able to use some of my points from Chevy has what's called Chevy Reward points, and you can use those towards different aftermarket products. So that actually saved me a few $100, about $300. The only other thing I added to the car after the fact is paint protection film. It was $1,000. I did what's called a front half. So this is, in my opinion, is the best budget to do a PPF. It covers half of the hood, it covers half of the fenders, it does the mirrors and the lights. So it covers pretty much all the heavy hitting areas on the front for paint checks. And if I'm going to spend $60,000, $70,000 on a vehicle, I like to do something like this for a couple reasons. One, it makes me feel a little better about the car, about chips in the front of the car. Typically some of these people are going to be driving the car substantially faster than I would like them to. And paint chips can be an issue as far as that goes. But secondly, I can use it for some different damage claims, and I'll show you on this side. So all in, I'm $71,293, and we're going to pause right here. Or don't get ahead of me here on when we sold the car, but we're going to put a pause right here, and let's go to the income on the car. So income came in. This is the rental income for 2020. It's 4 months period of time, and I brought in $10,318. Not a bad start for a new vehicle, right? Now, I have reimbursements here of 65 bucks. This is like tolls, maybe a ticket, that kind of stuff. I'm just drawing a line through this. I'm not even using it because I'm basically just reimbursing what I've already spent. So same thing here, reimbursements 205. I'm just drawing a line through that. Yes, I collected it from the guests, but typically they, I paid for that on their behalf as well. So rental income for 2021, 11 months, and I put -3 because I actually was, the car was out 3 months during peak fee season, unfortunately due to some damage, and it was about $11,000 worth of damage to the car. Was more expensive than it actually looked, and they had to do some rewiring and damage to and some replacing of some of the fiberglass and so forth. But total income for 2020 was 103018, 21, which is the equivalent of actually, this is saying 8 months, which 9 months, and I may be 1 month off on that, but total income there. So we have a total of the rental income came in at $33,100. Very happy with that. But there's a couple additional ways where I'm going to get some of my income back of what I've invested on this side over here. And the first is, I've had 4 damage incidences. So of the damage incidents, these are 4 that I was able to work with the guest directly. And I always prefer to do that. I have a deductible on this car. The deductible I used was $750. And I do that on my higher end vehicles because typically if people are spending on this car $300 a day, $350 a day for a car like this, usually they have the resources to pay for minor claims, and I can kind of keep some of that higher dollar income that's coming in. So my deductible is $750. So anytime you have a deductible like that, you always want to work with the guest directly first, if at all possible. So I had 4 different instances where I worked directly with the guest to get some of my income back for a total of $27.53. Now, a lot of these, one of these, just to keep it in perspective here, was a claim for about $1,900. This is a guy who rented the car for almost 2 weeks. He clearly had a good bit of resources, and he ended up scraping the front of the PPF that actually went into the paint a little bit. I got an estimate done, and that's about really where that was. So that's a good portion of this. The other 3 are, a rim issue, tire issue, a screw on the tire, and all of these I was able to. You can see I was able to recoup the cost that I put in here and here. So I got about $2,074, and I'm getting some of that money back through different scrapes and so forth on the PPF. Anytime someone damaged the PPF, I give them an estimate of what it would cost me to fix it. Really what I'm using this for is to recoup some of my costs on the front end, okay? But you always have to try to collect from that, because depending on how you sell the car, if you don't just trade it into a dealership and you sell the car private party, you may want to actually repair some of those minor issues so the car shows better for someone who's going to be a little more pickier on the car. If I trade a car into a dealership, I'm not really worried about that, because they're going to do their own touch-up stuff, and typically they don't take a lot off, if any at all. So keep that in mind. Now, here's where the tire and rim refund comes in. Remember, I spent $1,074, but I only had the car for about 16 months, 15, 16 months. So I actually got $819 back. And so to have that protection on the vehicle, this is why I want to go 84 months, because the prorated amount on an 84-month policy is substantially higher than a 36-month policy. If I did a 36-month policy, it would be, there's costs baked into the setting up the policy, and you're always better off with going as long as it's cancelable, you're always better off going with a longer term. You get more of your money back. So for literally about less than $250, I was able to use that policy multiple times. So total income that came in between those is $36,672. Now we got to take off our expenses. So the beauty of having a newer car that's under warranty and a lot of times is you have very little expenses. The most expensive things we had here is the insurance. And insurance for 2020 was $660. 2021, $1,850. And then we have maintenance, virtually no maintenance. I had 2 services on this vehicle every 7,500 miles on the C8. Both of those were covered by the dealership. The dealership covers the first two services. Chevy does one, the dealership does the other one. I actually traded the car in before it needed the third service, so I really had virtually no maintenance on this vehicle. With the exception of, I paid like $100 to get the brakes were squeaking and it was bothering me, and I felt like it was hurting the experience, and so I paid $110 to get someone to take care of that for me. I probably could have done it myself if I had the time, but very little for maintenance costs. I did have a damage deductible, but the shop that was doing the damage, because it was a pretty substantial claim, they actually covered the deductible for me, so it saved me $750 there. You can't always count on that, but sometimes if you have a good relationship with the shop, they can help you out with that. Interest paid. You always got to count on your interest paid. This is the importance of trying to get as low as rate as possible. And I'm actually a finance manager, so I will do, I need to do a couple videos soon on, interest rates and so forth on that. But so keep tuned for that. Interest paid on this car, we finance, I don't know the exact amount we financed, but 65 range, probably less than that a little bit. But we paid about $1,800 in interest, $1,814 to be exact. And the only other expense that we had was Bouncy and OnStar. So on these higher end vehicles, I like to have two types of trackers. I use OnStar for Chevrolet. It works great for locking the vehicle, unlocking the vehicle, doing remote check-in. Although this car is one of the cars I try not to do remote check-in. But I will kind of close it out sometimes remotely, and the OnStar helps. Plus, OnStar is hardwired in, and I can actually track the vehicle where it's at. It doesn't keep a lot of good data on speeds and that kind of stuff. It does have like a child, a student driver mode or whatever, where you can kind of see a little bit, but not near as much as the Bouncy does. So the Bouncy, as far as that goes, gives me a lot more data on what kind of speed the drivers are driving and the exact locations where they're going to, and I can get a lot more information if I'm concerned about a specific renter. So we spent $293 on that, and that is a well-spent $293 to give me peace of mind on one of my higher-end cars. This is, let's see here. So, and then we have, the cost of the Bouncy, you got to calculate that, $77. I divided that by 2 because we're not going to have, I'm not going to just throw it out now. I'll probably be able to use it for, multiple years on a different vehicle. So I shouldn't really count all the costs in that. Total expenses after the purchase price is $4,692. So we got to take the total rental income, our total income from this category. We got $36,672 minus the $46,692 brings us to $31,986, and that's where this comes in here. So we always talk about buying the car right. It's important that you're starting in a good place. Of course, I had some benefits. In this area, there's not very often can you expect to buy a car, drive it for 2 years and sell it for substantially more than you paid for it. There's a lot of them where you can break even and sometimes a small profit, but we can see that we sold the car for $80,000 in December of 2021. Now, it took us 4 appraisals to get there. The first appraisal that we did with Vroom was $65,000. I felt that was way low, even though it's kind of what I paid for the car. But I don't think they really, they were basically just going maybe off the MSRP, I'm not sure. CarMax came in at a healthy $75,000, and they were the only people who actually caught that the car actually had some body work done. So I felt like there's probably some more room there, and they obviously do a little bit better inspection of the vehicles for their appraisals, and so they appraised the car for $75,000 they were willing to pay, and they even acknowledged that it looked like there had been some body work done, which was true, which was accurate, and so I felt like, maybe some other places that weren't concerned about that, because it didn't actually show up on the Carfax because it was damage. There was no other cars involved. There was no police report and so forth. So that was a good part. Land Rover appraised the car for $78,000, and then I immediately just called the closest Chevy dealership to the Land Rover dealership, and they said, "Man, we'll pay you $80,000 for it." And so I went back to I got to Land Rover and I said, "Look, there's a Chevy dealership right around the corner. They've offered me $80. I'd like to go there. They could backtrack on me and pick the car apart." but I think I need to take a trip over there for $2,000. And Land Rover stepped up and paid the $80,000. So that's how we got there. That gives us another $87.07 in profit that we can add to this. And here, for a total profit, after all expenses, including insurance and interest, of $40,687. And obviously, I'm super happy with that. The question is, if, you know, a couple things. You know, we can't always count on this kind of stuff here. A lot of that has to do with the market being really weird the last 2 years with COVID and production issues and all that. You know, we also can't really count on this kind of income here. But even without both of those, you can see, because we purchased, you know, we stuck to my traditional strategy of getting a vehicle I know is going to be hot, I know is going to be popular. The C8 was always going to be, even though I didn't necessarily count on a massive amount of profit from the resale. I also knew that the brand new mid-engine Corvette was going to hold its value super strong, no matter what the situation was. So because we purchased right and we were able to you know, do our due diligence on getting a vehicle, a hot vehicle, early to market, first seat on the platform, obviously that all helps. So you can use that with a lot of different things. I'm using a similar strategy even for something not as you know, exotic, so to speak. And I wouldn't call the C8 an exotic car, but it does rent like an exotic car in some ways. But the Ford Maverick, I'm going to be doing the same thing. A vehicle that I feel like is going to be a hot vehicle for the public. And, you know, I can't get $300 a day, obviously, for a Ford Maverick, but those are vehicles where I think I'll be able to rent for 18 months to 24 months and be able to sell at a minimum of what I paid for it, maybe a little bit more than that, depending on how that goes. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. And overall, I did mention this is my second vehicle that I've been able to profit over $30,000. And so I'd like to keep this track up, but some of these are unique type of scenarios and situations, but hopefully this is helpful for you. And until next time, I'm out. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, I hope you were able to take some good you know, lessons from that. Obviously, some extenuating circumstances. We can't expect that every time. If you're wondering why I would trade in a vehicle or sell a vehicle that was bringing in averaging $3,100 you know, month to month, and peak season over $4,000 a month, make sure you watch my video on why I was trading the vehicle in, and also the video on what we traded the vehicle in for, and you'll get a better understanding of what I was trying to accomplish. So if you have any questions on this, I'm an open book. You know, hit me up in the comments below, DM me, and anything I missed, it's possible I might have missed something. So maybe an expense that you think there should be that somehow I didn't have on my board. I'm open to anything you have for me. So until next time, thanks guys, and I'm out.